Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 332 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So as I'm recording this, it is pouring down rain today. Seems like it's been raining for a month here. I like it. I actually love the rain, but I don't love the days where it's just cloudy and dreary. If it's going to be cloudy, I want it to just rain or snow. But the weather's been kind of crazy lately. So we've been getting a lot of both, like dreary days and rainy days. And then a lot of sunshine mixed in there too. So it gives us a nice contrast. That's the way I look at it, which I think adds a nice variety to our life. Now, some of you may be thinking that you already have enough variety in life. Thank you very much. It would be nice to have something that's consistent. And I get it. And I agree, actually. And I've talked about this before in other episodes, how the only thing that's consistent outside of us is change. So if things are always changing and we don't control anything outside of us, then we have to provide that consistency for ourselves. And we can do that. That we can do. We have so much going on in our lives. Most of us have families, work, pressures, lots of things that are pulling us in every direction. So it can be hard to separate ourselves from the busyness of life, to be able to ensure that we don't lose who we are or who we want to be. That can be really difficult when we have kids or the house, the laundry, the job, all of the things. It can be hard to separate ourselves from that being busy all the time. It can be hard to be consistent with ourselves when we're busy all the time. And when everything feels chaotic, it seems like the thing to do is to keep moving, to try to juggle all the balls in the air. When really, if we would be still, we can begin to realize the reason we feel so stressed is because we're trying to think about all the things at the same time, and we're giving each thing the same amount of importance. And so everything feels pressed for time, when in reality, 90% of the time, that isn't the case. I mean, if you think about it, the juggler is the reason the balls keep moving. Have you ever seen a juggler on TV or YouTube where they freeze a picture of him and all the balls are still in the air in a nice arc, but now they're not moving and the juggler's just sitting there looking at them? What if you could do that too? Like, what if you could picture yourself as a juggler and all the things that in your head that you're trying to juggle are balls in the air? So you can look at them for just a few minutes, right? Right in the air. They're just static. Now, because you've paused, you can give each ball the attention it deserves. And you may also see that, oh, wait a minute, this ball, it's not a problem at all. So from its fixed position, you just take it and you set it in the basket. Now you have one less thing you're juggling. And also from that position, you can see that taking a moment to yourself, it's already allowed you to very quickly narrow down what's important and what's not right now. This last week, I felt like I was doing a juggling act. And when I actually did this exercise for myself, I realized that one of the projects I had running through my mind was complete on my part. We're now just waiting for a rug to come in, which will be 2 months from now. I don't have anything more to do with that project. So that ball shouldn't even be in the juggling act. So I take it out and I put it away. One of the other balls I was juggling was a quote that came in higher than I thought it would be. And so I was worrying about what the client would say. Well, she's out of town. I can't even talk to her until 3 or 4 days from now. So that's when we'll decide and we'll meet and we'll decide whether we're going to move forward or not. Nothing's gone wrong. Another ball out of the juggling act for today at least. You see, as long as we keep the juggling act going, we use half our energy worrying about the things that we shouldn't even be worried about. Now, I still had 2 balls in the air, and I can now put my energy towards them because they really need my attention if I'm going to get them finished on time. Sometimes the best thing we can do is hit pause and evaluate if there's anything we're juggling that's complete or out of our control. Most of the time there is. Hitting pause may not feel like the right thing to do because we're so used to reacting, but more often than not, it's the absolute best thing you can do. So talking about the crazy weather lately, my husband Eric and I were going to a party for a friend in downtown Memphis, which is about 25 miles from where we are. It's not a bad drive, but the weather was especially bad that evening, and they were predicting tornadoes for all around our area. We were worried that we weren't going to make it to the party, but at the last minute, the weather went north of us, and Eric called me. He was out of town. We were going to meet at the airport, and he said, hey, it looks like the weather's going to be okay after all, so let's go. So off we go, relieved that the weather had calmed down and it looked like the threat was gone. So we get to the party, and there are lots of people there, and we're in a cool old building with a very cool terrace that overlooks the city. Now we're inside, and there's a lot of people, and the music is really loud, and everyone's having a really good time. But I have my clutch with me under my arm, and my phone's in it, and I can feel it keeps buzzing, like someone keeps calling and texting. So I look at Eric, and I'm like, my phone is going crazy, so I'm going to go run and check it. And I see that my mom has called me twice, and both she and Dad have been sending me messages saying that they're worried about us because of the weather. And I text them back, and I say, oh, don't worry, it's went north, we're good. And then they're like, no, there's a tornado headed directly for Germantown, which is where we live. So I step outside on the terrace to call them back, and as soon as we open the door to the terrace, we hear the tornado sirens going off. Then I hear a man out there on the terrace frantically talking to someone on the phone, and he's saying, you mean a tornado's on the ground right now in Tupelo and it's heading to South Haven? He was very frantic, to which Eric pulls up his radar, and sure enough, another cell has popped up out of nowhere, headed directly for the city where our house is. So I look at Eric and I say, Kinsey, that's our little Yorkie, she's home alone. We have to get home right now. We have to leave. Now he looks at me like I am crazy, and he says, we cannot get in the car and start driving right now, Heidi. That would be more dangerous than being where we are. But I'm like, we're responsible for her, and I'm not just going to leave her to hope she'll be okay. And then he paused for a second, and he said, Heidi, if we get killed in a tornado trying to get home to her, she's going to be a lot worse off. She's fine. She's actually deaf, so she's sleeping right now through it. And as soon as the danger passes, we're going to head home, and it'll be fine. And he was right, and I knew it. So that's what we did. And everything did actually turn out fine that night. See, pausing for a moment and looking at the reality of the situation was most certainly the best thing once I gave myself a chance to think about it. Feminine energy can a lot of times be very creative, but along with that, it can also be emotional, and reacting when emotions are high is not that great of an idea. So having the ability to push pause whenever I feel overwhelmed allows me to take the time to evaluate what's really important and what I'm allowing to take up space if maybe something's taking up space unnecessarily. And that technique I talked about earlier, visualization, that's a really big part of this. Actually visualizing each thing you're stressing about as a ball in a juggling act where you're the juggler. But instead of continuing to juggle, you hit pause. And you just notice each ball just kind of statically hanging there. And you pick it up and you ask, is this important? Is this something I need to be thinking about right now? Or is it just using up energy that's better spent somewhere else? It's a really satisfying technique. I want you to try it. Actually, my challenge for you today is to try it. Recognize that you're the juggler, but you're the juggler with a pause button that you can push anytime you want. And that seems pretty powerful. Share this with 3 busy people that you love. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.